In today's video, we're discussing some very interesting NHL trade rumors discussed on NHL Insider Trading on TSN. Could we possibly be seeing a deal between the Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers? Plus, with the latest on the Chicago Blackhawks, the Calgary Flames, the Minnesota Wild, and could longtime NHL veteran Dion Phaneuf be making a return? He's been spotted around Toronto. We'll get the latest on what's going on with him as well, coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have some very interesting NHL trade rumors to discuss today. And let's kick things off here with the Battle of Alberta. The Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames both seem to be looking for similar types of players as we approach the NHL trade deadline. Now, the Calgary Flames apparently are looking for a right shot top six forward. Now, here LeBron discussed here on Insider Trading that the cap space that they acquired by trading a longtime veteran forward Michael Frolik to the Sabres earlier will indeed be put to good use, and they ideally want a right shot top six forward, and he speculated that Tyler Toffoli might be a player that they're keeping their eye on. If you really take a look around, a lot of the players who could be used as rental players around the NHL, guys that are pending unrestricted free agents, there really are not a lot of high quality right shot top six potential forwards out there. Besides a player like Toffoli, there's a player like Wayne Simmons, for example, with the New Jersey Devils, who's made it known that he would prefer to stay in New Jersey, but at the same time, he's on an expiring contract, so he very well could be a player moved as well. But Toffoli certainly has been on the radar of a lot of NHL teams. Of course, he had a chance to win Stanley Cup before with Los Angeles, has had a pretty solid career for the most part, a proven goal scorer in the past, and very well could be a good help to many teams looking for extra added depth scoring here. Now, their provincial rival, the Edmonton Oilers, are also looking for top six forward, but seem to be keeping an eye on the Toronto Maple Leafs, according to NHL insider Darren Dreger. Now, he believes that the Oilers have interest in some of the Maple Leaf young forwards, which could include players like Kasperi Kapanen, Andreas Janssen, or Alex Kerfoot. They're all relatively young, all relatively solid forwards, and they all come with a fairly good contract that could certainly fit into their salary cap situation. Now, of course, the Maple Leafs are looking for defense. The Maple Leafs have a battered blue line with guys like Muzzin and Riley out longer term. Muzzin should be back here in a couple of weeks. So ideally, they have a lot of question marks moving forward as well on the right side of their defense, including some unrestricted free agents like Tyson Barrie and Cody Ceci. So what kind of deal could they possibly be looking at if he feels the Oilers have interest in the Leafs? What could they possibly do? I mean, I would think, looking at the Oilers roster and their blue line, that more than likely would have to be a player like Adam Larsson, you would think. Adam Larsson's a right shot defenseman. He's got a couple of years left on his contracts. Not big money, but similar type money that one of those forwards would be making. So perhaps could we see a trade between the Oilers and the Leafs, with the Maple Leafs acquiring a defenseman in exchange for one of their young forwards? It certainly does make sense to a degree. I guess depending on which forward we're talking about, you might be able to make an argument that perhaps the forward might be worth more than just a defenseman like an Adam Larsson. The Oilers might have to throw something else into the mix. I can't imagine the Leafs would be looking at one of their younger defensemen, like an Ethan Bear, for example, or a Caleb Jones. I'm not really sure that that's kind of what the Leafs would be looking for. I would imagine for right now, especially if it's a shorter term deal, that they'd want somebody with a little bit more experience. And I can't imagine looking at their left shot defenseman on the Oilers like an Oscar Klefbom or Darnell Nurse. That would be players that the Oilers would want to move. So when you kind of narrow it all down, I would think that if a deal were to be made, more than likely Adam Larsson would be the defenseman involved. So could we see two of Canada's teams hook up on a fairly substantial trade, satisfying some defense needs for the Maple Leafs while getting a young top six forward in the hands of the Oilers? Certainly let me know what your thoughts are on that possibility. Which players do you think makes the most sense for these two teams? Or does it even make sense for them to hook up on a potential trade and make two of Canada's teams both stronger heading into the playoffs? Now, staying with the Toronto Maple Leafs momentarily and their blue line, there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of days here about Dion Phaneuf, and is he making a return? He's been spotted around Toronto. There's been some speculation as to what's been going on with him. He's been spotted at a Maple Leafs practice recently, and he's been seen around Leafs president Brendan Shanahan. Well, they did clarify in NHL Insider Trading what's been going on here with Phaneuf. Even though Dion Phaneuf has not officially retired and he would like another NHL opportunity. It's believed that he's not talking to the Leafs about such a thing, and that he's actually there shadowing to learn more about the business side of the game and spending time with guys like Shanahan to kind of learn the ropes of what might be involved in that type of job down the road. Apparently, he's also going to be spending time and doing some job shadowing with some other NHL offices as well, but obviously with his ties to the Maple Leafs organization, being a former captain, certainly had no problem letting him come in and do some job shadowing. And Bob McKenzie discussed that on Insider Trading, indicating that really there's nothing more to it than that. Very unlikely that the Maple Leafs go down the road of bringing back Dion Phaneuf, the former captain. Well, like he said, he has not ruled out making an NHL return. He would like another opportunity. There has yet to be an opportunity materialize this year. And at this point, it's looking like it's likely not going to come. So obviously, he's preparing for his future and another role within the hockey world for him down the road. Now, they once again discussed the Chicago Blackhawks goaltending situation where we have Corey Crawford and Robin Lehner, both unrestricted free agents, and both have been playing relatively well as of late. Corey Crawford's been able to put together a healthy season, the first one he's been able to do in some time, and we've heard comments from Crawford earlier, not too long in the last couple of days here, that he certainly intends on playing next year. There's been a lot of talk and speculation amongst many that maybe he very well might hang him up due to his concussion history. He might not want to take the chance of having any more concussions or anything else happen, and he might just decide to hang him up. He's had a pretty solid career. He's got a Stanley Cup to his name. Obviously made a good amount of money. Maybe this would be the end of the road, but he's made it clear that that's not the case. He fully intends on wanting to play next year, and not only that, he fully intends on wanting to be a starting goaltender, as he said he didn't really want to be anybody's backup. Now, you got Robin Lehner, who last year with the Islanders and this year with the Hawks have played really, really strong. Of course, he was a Vezina finalist last year as well after getting his career back on track, and he's made it clear that he has no intentions of taking any kind of what you'd call a hometown discount. He's looking for a longer term deal after taking back-to-back one-year contracts. He wants a little bit more stability, a little bit more of a long-term fit for his future, and he said he's taken too many discounts in his career so far, and that's not something he's interested in either. So on Insider Trading, they discussed the possibility that one of these two very well could be signed to a contract extension before we get to the deadline, and there is a possibility of the other one being traded. Now, it doesn't mean for sure it's going to happen. Like I said, goaltenders being traded at the deadline is certainly something that is a lot less common. It's a little bit more difficult for them to join a new team and they can kind of get into a rhythm. You don't often see teams making that kind of acquisition. Usually, if they're in a good spot in the standings because they have solid goaltending, and if they have that, they don't usually need more of it unless they're just looking for, an extra backup or, to add some extra depth in case there's injuries or anything unexpected in the playoffs. But the Hawks have some decisions to make. That they very well will attempt to sign one of these guys before the deadline if they can do that, or at the very least, they're going to be having contract negotiations with each of them to see where things stand, to get an idea what they're each going to be looking for, make a decision, and possibly move on from one of them before the deadline. I guess we'll have to remain to be seen, but at the very least, I think it's fair to say one of them departs, if not by the deadline, then as a free agent during the offseason. I also want to touch base on the Minnesota Wild. I found this piece of the NHL Insider Trading segment extremely interesting. NHL Insider Darren Trigger was mentioning another team like the Wild who he expects to be busy at the deadline, possibly selling off some potential unrestricted free agents, and maybe moving on from some of their veterans as they continue to kind of make a little bit of a reset here. And of course, GM Bill Guerin looking to leave his mark here on the team and start to shape this roster a little bit more what he feels it needs for the future. And the name he brought up was actually Matt Dumba. I mean, Dumba's a pretty solid defenseman. He's 25 years old. He's got 3 years left on his contract at $6 million. Now, of course, he has struggled a bit recently. It's only 2 seasons ago where he was a 50-point defenseman. Certainly had a terrific year. And then last year, he was off to a terrific start before he got hurt. Missed a significant period of time due to injury. And now this year, he has been struggling. His offensive numbers are certainly down, but we've seen what he's capable of. And I think it's fair to say he can get back to that. He's just having a bit of an off season, but then again, the team is as a whole. And if you look at their blue line, of course, they got a lot of money invested in Ryan Suter. They recently inked Jaron Spurgeon to a big time extension as well. And of course, they have Dumba, like I said, for 3 more years at $6 million. So they could possibly look to move some money around. And at the same time, though, Dumba is one of their younger defensemen who's actually well established. When you look at Spurgeon and Suter being much older, it does seem a little bit odd to me that that they would consider trading Dumba. So I can only imagine the interest that would be generated by Matthew Dumba being on the trade market. A 25-year-old right-shot defenseman making $6 million, who's formerly put up 50 points. Not to say that anything would be imminent here real soon, but really if the Wild are going to put Dumba on the market, I think they could get a pretty good return, and I do think there would be all kinds of interest from around the NHL. Now, that very well might be a deal that's more likely to take place during the offseason, given the term he has on his contract, but I do think the Wild likely will make some moves here, whether it be at the deadline or during the offseason. I think Bill Guerin needs to kind of leave his mark on his team and shape the roster a little bit more, continue getting through a bit of a reset here, but Dumba was very surprising for me to be brought up as a trade piece for the Wild. So let me know what your thoughts are as Bill Guerin decides to reshape this team. Does it make sense that Matt Dumba would be one of the pieces that he tries to bring back a good haul and get this team back on track moving forward? So I'd love to know what your thoughts are on a potential landing spot for Dumba should he be on the market, and give me your mock trades down in the comments so we can discuss further. Of course, as always, we'll know your thoughts and opinions and everything discussed here today. Let me know your thoughts on the latest news and rumors from Insider Trading, and we can discuss further down in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, turning on your notifications, and checking out our membership area of the channel as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we will catch you next time.